A dream born at a long-gone amusement park has finally become reality in West Des Moines. As Local 5's JD Snover shows us, the journey to get there took Steve Heinrichs just about everywhere else first.
Mini golf might seem simple, right? You take the putter, you hit the ball, and you try to get it in the hole. But here at Birdie's in West Des Moines, there's a little more to it than that. It's funny where a dream can take you.
I've always said I'm going to do things that are fun, that I really want to do, that brings joy and happiness to everybody.
For Steve Heinrichs, it started early.
My grandmama worked at Riverview Park in Des Moines here, and when I was little, I used to go down to the park quite a bit.
A simple dream.
I thought when I retire, I want to mix the two together and have a mini golf course themed after Riverview, my two loves.
He's lived a few lives since then.
I had a bar in Shreveport, Louisiana at one time in my life that I owned.
Magician, caricature artist, performing in places like the Wisconsin Dells and Las Vegas, while owning a home in Phoenix he saw about once a year. But
I'm from Altoona, Iowa.
That dream was always going to lead him back home.
I wanted to bring something back to Des Moines for all the Des Moines families.
He never met his idol.
Loved Walt Disney.
But spent years admiring his work.
When I got older, I got to actually go to the parks, Disneyland and Disney World, and visit them, and I was thrilled.
There may not be a castle in West Des Moines. No fireworks either.
This is harder than it looks.
But Steve believes in the same idea, that a place can become a perfect memory.
A lot of grandparents have come in with their grandkids and they smile big and they show them.
And those memories can transcend generations. So you've had this plan for a while, or at least the idea of it.
A long time, yep.
Because it turns out childhood dreams can come true. Just ask Heinrichs. In West Des Moines, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
People in Newton are getting ready to start their engines as NASCAR fans and drivers begin trickling into town ahead of this weekend's Iowa Corn 350. The city says the race brings a boost to local businesses every year. But as Local 5's JD Snover explains, the real payoff can't be measured in dollars.
Hey guys, how we doing?
The lunch rush at Red Pride Cafe comes with a side.
Are you full? Yes. Awesome.
Of check-ins.
No, we're gonna walk to the library.
Full plates, full tables, and a waitress who seems to know everybody.
My heart belongs to Newton.
Alicia Munoz owns the place.
All right, I'll sit you right here.
Most days, she serves the coffee too.
I want 2 French toasts.
Okay. Do you need any meat or eggs?
She'll have thousands more people to welcome.
It just gives Newton a little more oomph.
When NASCAR rolls into Iowa Speedway this weekend.
It gets our name and our faces out there and just brings heart to Newton that once wasn't there.
Half a mile down the road.
And sometimes they'll even watch the reruns of it just for fun.
At Murph and Mary's Pub, Lainey Sisney is used to talking about racing.
I think we do draw a pretty big crowd already from our population.
But race week brings new faces and another chance to show off her hometown.
We're also kind of looking at, okay, do we need any extra staff here or there? So we want to make sure our customers are taken care of in the best way we possibly can.
Taking care of people is a point of pride around here.
Doing okay, Ralphie? Okay.
And Munoz's first NASCAR week in business at the Red Pride Cafe.
Just seeing all the different race car fans in town, the different drivers. We had one in here this morning.
Is already off to a blazing fast start. In Newton, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
Jamie Pollard set to retire this academic year and is just weeks away from experiencing his final football season as Iowa State's Director of Athletics. Before Pollard rides off into the sunset, he sat down with our own Trey Redfield discussing Jimmy Rogers, one of Pollard's recent hires, before fall camp begins on Wednesday.
This is a culture that you've got to really relate to the people. You got to be of the people, and then how you operate once you're here. You know, both Matt Campbell, Fred Hoiberg, TJ Otzelberger, Bill Fenley, you listen to their words. They praise the fans. They go out of their way to make sure that the fans know, we're one of them.
Jimmy Rogers is definitely one of those guys. So I got that sense when he had some choice words about beating the Hawks during Cyhawk back in December.
He may regret that he said that, but he said it, so you got to own it.
Now you got to own it, and we're in the season of owning it now. Fall camp is around the corner, and it's now obviously it's the riding into the sunset for you, but since we're on the topic of football, it's the dawn of the new era for this season. Why can Jimmy Rogers be the guy to, I guess, continue the success that Matt Campbell had?
Well, I would say a couple things. First of all, being the head coach of football is a huge leadership responsibility.
Especially at a Power 4.
Well, yeah, but even at any level,
general, right.
Because of just the amount of people you're overseeing. It's so unlike being the head basketball coach. The head basketball coach oversees 5 or 6 people. The football coach oversees 50 staff members, 125 players, right? So there's just a lot of moving parts. Secondly, again, having consistency amongst your staff. The bulk of his staff was with him at South Dakota State, at Washington State, and came here. I mean, they were not deer in headlights this winter. They knew exactly what they were walking into. They had just dealt with it a year ago. They had learned, they even commented things that they would do differently this time around than they did even 12 months ago. So I think that their transition was a lot smoother than just maybe what people think on the outside. Yes, we brought in a lot of players because you had to, but I don't think those players were unfamiliar to this coaching staff. Most of them either were at Washington State, South Dakota State, or were individuals that Coach Rogers and his staff recruited when they were at South Dakota State, but didn't get them, but then got them on the second time around at Iowa State. And then thirdly, and I've described Jimmy this way to himself, is that I think he's modestly confident.
Yeah, I like that.
And he asked me, he goes like, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, you're modest. It's clear. You're not coming in saying all these great things you're going to do. And that plays really well in this environment.
Sure.
But when people listen to your words, it's painfully obvious you're confident about who you are and what you guys are going to do. And I'm not sitting here to say we're going to go to a bowl game or we're going to win X number of games, but I'm pretty confident that this team will be better than people think, will improve throughout the year. And I think back to Coach Campbell's first year 10 years ago, we only won 3 games.
Right.
But when we got to the 12th game, our fans couldn't wait for game 1 the next year because they had seen how much the team improved throughout the year. And my guess is that's what we're going to experience this fall also.
The Agri-science program at Des Moines Public Schools will be back this upcoming school year. The program went on a hiatus due to a declining enrollment and to allow time to restructure. Local 5's Alex Fulton checked back in with district leaders about what's on the way.
For an entire school year, the greenhouse at the Des Moines Public Schools Agri-science campus sat empty.
Taking a year off was very difficult for us because we know that ag education is essential.
A steering committee was formed to look at ways to make the program more accessible and redo the curriculum.
I did come into the role knowing that it had to be restructured and built. And I think that just like in life, everything needs a little bit of a refresh.
Justin Reed was hired on as the new teacher to relaunch the program for the upcoming school year.
We're hoping that, myself being transplanted from Oklahoma can bring some of that different agriculture experience from a different part of the world into central Iowa.
The curriculum will be fluid and will adjust based on what students want.
We're building our own curriculum versus farming some in from outside resources, and we want to give the best opportunity to our students in the direction that they want to go.
The program will continue to teach students to care for animals and plants.
I think my biggest thing for students is to find a passion, and maybe that's not livestock animals. Maybe that's in the greenhouse and they enjoy propagating plants.
Alumni Jomar Leon figured out he wants to be a veterinarian through the program and hopes others will have similar success stories.
I'm just happy it's coming back and that they keep teaching new opportunities and changing people's lives like mine for the better.
Lutheran Services in Iowa recently set up a community garden here at the Agri-science campus. It's still up in the air whether students will be working there. In Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
An Iowa small business is heading to the nation's capital to compete for $1 million. Plastech, a production and machining company, was formed nearly 30 years ago by a Garner couple as a small job shop in their garage. Their local Small Business Administration office nominated them for the award. It's part of the nation's Freedom 250 celebrations. It spotlights the small businesses that leveraged SBA capital products to innovate, scale operations, and strengthen the American economy. Each of the 5 finalists will have to give their pitch about their small business.
We're just the pitch is about things, you know, what are you doing for technology? What's your community involvement? How are you punching above your weight? Those type of things are what the pitch is about.
The Sundquist say if they win the money, they would put it back into Plastech by investing in technology. The competition will take place before a panel of celebrity judges and a live audience on September 18th. New air ambulances will be taking to the Iowa skies soon. Local 5's Deja Garner explains how they're working to get the state's sickest patients to hospitals fast.
I am at Unity Point Health's ribbon cutting ceremony, and let me tell you, this Bell 429 helicopter, along with this pediatric ambulance, is 2 new vehicles that patients can use in the case of an emergency. Air Methods, Life Flight, and Variety are the companies who are behind the 2 updated emergency vehicles. Variety, which is a children's charity, says the new ambulance will ensure that more children in rural areas of Iowa receive the highest level of care. And for the new aircraft, officials say one of the biggest changes is its speed. It can fly up to 170 miles per hour. The executive of Air Methods also says a patient's insurance will not prevent them from receiving emergency care.
We fly any and all patients. We don't pay any attention to insurance or not. If we get a request, we fly the patient. And now with the NSA No Surprises Act, we're in network with insurance companies, so billing is not a concern.
While this helicopter here is going to Audubon, later on this year, there will be 2 more helicopters rolling through. Those will be going to Fort Dodge and Des Moines. In West Des Moines, I'm Deja Garner, Local 5 News.
Right now, talks are ongoing in Washington over the next farm bill legislation that helps shape everything from crop programs to agricultural research. As Local 5's J.D. Snover reports, Iowa corn growers are paying close attention to one provision they say could create a bigger market for their crop.
It's no secret that Iowa farmers grow quite a bit of corn, but where's it supposed to go as they become more efficient and there's more of it to sell off? Well, the Iowa Corn Growers Association has one idea. He's no stranger to the farm.
I've been farming row crop for probably 35 years.
Or the financial challenges that can come with it.
We've had about 4 years of decline here. We had a couple years of good going, but then we had several years of decline before that.
But Steve Kuiper is still fighting for Iowa corn.
We've got to get some footing under farm financials for folks to be profitable and make money.
It's one of the reasons he volunteers with the Iowa Corn Growers Association. And while Congress continues working on a new farm bill,
people always feel more security when we do have a farm bill and they kind of know the rules of the game. When you just kick the can down the road, there's so much unknown out there.
Corn growers are closely watching one provision in particular.
E15, they've been working on E15 for years.
Especially at a time when fuel prices can swing with events happening half a world away.
Middle East is always, as long as I've been alive, the Middle East oil effort has always been an unknown.
The Senate's latest farm bill language includes year-round E15 sales, after the idea passed the House on its own earlier this spring. On X, Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa called that provision, quote, good, agreeing that a farm bill will give farmers the certainty they need. Still, Kuiper isn't celebrating just yet.
It's Washington, D.C. You just never know. Today it looks really great, and tomorrow they could blow it all up.
Outside of Bussy, I'm J.D. Snover, Local 5 News.
Well, Iowa Central Community College is the first in the nation to have an approved workforce Pell program. U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon visited the Fort Dodge campus today to sign off on it. Local 5's Alex Fulton is in studio to explain how these Pell grants work and what they'll be used for. Alex.
Stephanie, state and federal leaders say that too many people nowadays have high debt and degrees with not much return on investment. The workforce Pell Grants allow students to jump right into high-paying jobs with little to no debt. A portion of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill allowed students to use Pell dollars for programs as short as 8 weeks. It's through FAFSA, and students can receive up to roughly $7,400, the maximum Pell Award. Unlike traditional Pell Grants, these dollars can be used by students who have a bachelor's degree. U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon says workforce Pell Grants ensure what students are learning aligns with the needs of employers.
By connecting human talent with industry demand, Workforce Pell delivers family-sustaining wages for workers, a robust talent pipeline for employers, and the skilled workforce that our economy relies on.
The Workforce Pell Grants are approved for Iowa Central Community College's 14-week EMT program. The college's website states that students learn to initiate and maintain treatment for medical, trauma, and cardiac emergencies. Iowa was the first state to submit the Workforce Pell application. Governor Kim Reynolds called Workforce Pell Grants a game changer.
By allowing schools like Iowa Central to fast-track students into rewarding careers in just 8 to 15 weeks and with little to no student debt, this program is expanding high-quality career opportunities and paving the way to a stronger, more resilient economy.
Reynolds estimates there will be 500 EMT job openings in Iowa over the next 5 years. The need is especially high in rural areas like Fort Dodge. It's challenging for departments to bring on EMTs because of the cost of training and the time it takes to get certified. Workforce Pell Grants are for low-income students and no repayment is required. Stephanie.
The CDC is now confirming more than 10,000 cases of cyclosporiasis here in the U.S. since May 1st. It spans across 47 states, including Iowa. 517 of those people needed to be hospitalized, and 2 of them died in Michigan. Michigan HHS says both had underlying health conditions. And Local 5's Emma Stroner is back here with us now and is bringing us the latest on the outbreak that we've been certainly following for the last several weeks now.
And I think what's top of mind for many now after those 2 deaths is what is the likelihood of anybody dying from cyclosporiasis?
Yeah, not very likely at all. That's what I learned from my conversation with Polk County epidemiologist Zach Woods. He says really if you're healthy, you don't have any underlying conditions, you really have a good chance of surviving this illness. Now, there are 2 groups, however, that Woods says are at an elevated risk. That's going to be those who are very old or immunocompromised. He says people in those groups should still be careful about what they're eating, particularly with lettuce and berries, because 1, Taylor Farms lettuce has been linked to the outbreak, and 2, berries can harbor the cyclospora. Now, the biggest risk factor for dying, Wood says, is dehydration.
The number 1 factor would be dehydration. Cyclospora can cause diarrhea, and really important to maintain those fluid intakes, rest, and get treatment and keep that fluid push, or dehydration would be your number 1 risk factor there.
And he says signs of dehydration include excessive thirst, dry mouth, dark urine, and fatigue. The severity of cases, they're really going to range from person to person, but he says if you have experienced diarrhea for multiple days, to let your doctor know so you can start recovering and start rehydrating.
Very important there. And also, the good news, we're seeing the cases trend down here. But what do we know about where we sit in Polk County and in Iowa overall?
Yeah, Wood says that as of yesterday morning, there's 35 cases in Polk County. And then all of this year in Iowa, we've seen 226 cases, but nearly 100 of those really popped up at the very beginning of July. Just now, last week, we're seeing under 10 new cases. And then we'll see what happens this week, but hopefully even less than last week because it just continues to trend down week by week.
Well, the Ankeny Regional Airport is expanding, and today it got a big boost in funding. Representative Zach Nunn was at the airport today to announce $2.5 million in federal funding to extend the airport's runway. It's going from 5,500 feet to 6,000 feet for larger business class aircraft. That will connect Central Iowa employers with customers, suppliers, and investment opportunities nationwide. The bigger the planes, the larger the opportunity, the more airplane hangars they need. Now, despite just completing 5 additional hangars, the airport has a wait list of 80 people waiting for space.
This expansion will help connect our region to even more opportunities for more growth and will help ensure that our region maintains a level of competition that sets us apart for future investment.
The project will eliminate the need for a second runway closure, streamline construction activities to reduce costs, and save taxpayers an estimated $1 million, according to the Polk County Aviation Authority. If you are a racing fan, Central Iowa is the place to be over the next 10 or so days. The first of 2 Knoxville Nationals weekends gets the green flag tomorrow. That's on top of NASCAR taking over the Iowa Speedway Friday through Sunday. As Local 5's J.D. Snover reports, the locals are ready.
They'll soon trade the sound of rainfall for the sizzle of barbecue and the buzz of hungry race fans. At the Rib Shack, which sits across the street from the Knoxville Raceway,
we just prepare and produce food like nobody's business.
Katie Hilliard and staff are racing to get ready.
It is pretty crazy, and it's hectic, and it's stressful, but I love it.
For fans sprinting to Knoxville from around the world.
So we have a lot of people from Australia that come every year for the Nationals.
And they're giving them a taste of Iowa along the way.
We got pig, we got cow, we've got corn.
They're one of many local businesses preparing for the town's biggest stretch of the year.
A lot of times Nationals is the front door for Knoxville, so this is their first impression of our town.
And Megan Bennett with the Knoxville Chamber says vacancy is scarce.
All the hotels in Oskaloosa are full, and Pella, and Des Moines, and all around.
So everyone will come together to help out.
Locals can list their properties or parking spaces or campers, and then they can host visitors and help kind of start the lifelong friendships that typically happen.
Because over the years, they've learned it takes more than just the racetrack to make Nationals happen.
Would you like me to sauce yours or put some sauce on the table?
I've gotten to know a lot of the racing crews, the racing fans, the racers over the years, and you just build relationship with the community.
It takes people ready to welcome them. In Knoxville, I'm JD Snover, Local 5 News.
Right now, a major meat and poultry processor in northeast Iowa is vowing to rebuild. It's after a fire destroyed 75% of the Agri-science facility in Postville last week. The facility was a major supplier of kosher meat and employed 600 people. A deli market in Des Moines is having to turn elsewhere for its inventory. Maccabee's Kosher Deli serves over 100 people a week. Local 5's Stacia Garner shows us how the business is pushing forward.
So imagine if you come to your favorite kosher deli market to get the same product you've been purchasing for decades, but then you come and you hear that that product may not be on the shelves anymore.
That's because a fire damaged a meat and poultry plant in northeast Iowa. It supplies Maccabee's Kosher Deli in Des Moines.
There's no production, no beef, no deli, everything was burnt, nothing was salvaged, nothing in the storage.
The owner says he still has products on sale because a week before the fire, he picked up a big order from the plant.
If I would have gone a week later, it would have been very sad.
Rabbi says his customers are concerned and sees them purchasing more of their deli staple items before they run out. So
the Agri-star ground beef we are low on, but we have a full supply of the ground beef 8515, which is even a much greater quality than the Agri-star, so this is even more, and cheaper per pound as well. So that's what customers want to hear.
And while the deli waits to hear back from Agri-star, it's on a mission to find new companies to work with.
I have from other sources in the Midwest, in Minnesota. We're trying to work out a deal with a company here that has shipping who said that they're ready to help and see what they could do.
The owner says customers may see a price increase as the store switches supplies. That increase could be up to an additional $1 per pound.
You know, people understand there's going to be shipping costs. The deli sandwiches will be the same price.
Now, the owner of Maccabee's Deli says customers should not see a big impact on the September Jewish holidays. In Des Moines, Deja Garner, Local 5 News.
Last week, the Iowa City Planned Parenthood officially ended in-person visits. Now, the only location in the state left with in-person service is here in Des Moines. Local 5's Brandon Wynn joins us in studio to share what Planned Parenthood is warning their patients. Brandon.
Yeah, Stephanie, the Iowa City closure has led to worries about the Des Moines location being overloaded. But Planned Parenthood says that burden may be most felt by other states. Planned Parenthood expressed frustration at the trend of losing in-person care centers in Iowa.
1/3 of our state is currently considered a reproductive health care desert, meaning that, 1/3 of Iowa counties don't even have a provider there.
Kirsten Deligardel with Planned Parenthood says the loss of their Iowa City Center could affect the Des Moines location. But recent trends have shown that Iowa's border states might be feeling the biggest impacts.
Patient travel from Iowa to Minnesota increased by 46%, and travel from Iowa to Nebraska increased by 220%.
Those numbers reflect Iowans seeking abortion services after Iowa's newest abortion restrictions went into effect last year. However, some Iowans are calling these closures a victory.
We feel very strongly that Planned Parenthood should not exist. That it's been a blight
on this state, and we're thankful that we're down to 1.
Chuck Hurley, with the Family Leader, feels Planned Parenthood harms Iowa, citing their abortion services. He says he would rather see Iowans look to assistive programs for mothers and utilize the foster system, although Planned Parenthood emphasized they do more than abortions.
Birth control, emergency contraception, gender-affirming care, pregnancy testing and planning, prenatal and postpartum services, STI testing and treatment, vaccines, mental health support, perimenopause and menopause care. That's a huge list.
Hurley says even these services are concerning to Family Leader.
They promote pushing kids to suppress their natural development. They push for transgenderism, which is just really harmful to young people.
Further complicating Planned Parenthood services is a recent law that bans telehealth consultations and mail-order drugs for abortions in Iowa. Now, Planned Parenthood emphasized the vast online coverage they still offer across the state. Most services are available online, excluding abortions. For a full list of those services, make sure to visit weareiowa.com. Stephanie?
As we come up on tax-free weekend, lots of parents and the kids will be going back to school shopping.
Sure will. It's that time of the year, but there's a lot of data showing the school essentials are going to be more expensive this year. Local 5's Emma Stroner breaks down what parents will now have to pay.
We are just a few weeks away until class is back in session. As parents set out to buy their kids all the back-to-school essentials, supplies are going to be 8% more expensive than last year. Iowa State University economics professor Peter Erasm says these two things will be especially pricey.
Just the fuel to get the kids to school is going to be up about 25% relative to last year. And school lunches, if you pack a lunchbox, food items are going to be up about 11%.
While costs go up, parents are still willing to bear the cost. A new study by Credit Karma shows 45% of them plan to take on debt to pay for back-to-school shopping. And 57% are already entering the school year with debt.
There's a little bit of evidence that people are not wanting to cut back on what they send their kids to school with.
According to an Ipsos poll, parents will spend nearly $900 on each kid to send them back to school. And that's not just for the classroom.
If you look at after-school activities like sports, the average expected expenditure is $337 per child.
Back-to-school expenses extend beyond K through 12. For incoming college students, some might be getting their first credit card right now to help them pay for some of those items. Erasm says parents should sit down with their students and make sure they know how to budget.
Credit cards are something you want to have a conversation with your new students before they go off to school and say, here's what you're willing to pay for and here's what you're not willing to pay for.
Otherwise, taking advantage of the upcoming tax-free weekend, scoping out sales, and shopping at budget stores are all great ways to save for this school year. Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.
Well, the Iowa State Fair is still a week away, but some fair staples are already serving customers at the fairgrounds. Local 5's JD Snover is live with more on one concessionaire getting an early start on all that fun. JD.
Yeah, Stephanie, it is a big day here at Coney Corner, which is owned by Campbell Concessions, right outside the horse barn. Let me show you. They've got some people. We've had a steady stream in and out here in the about half an hour that we've been out here. And as you can tell, the fair foods are just as popular as they ever have been. I mean, there are people out here even a week before the fair starts. But from the concessionaire's point of view, keeping those traditions alive is getting a little more expensive.
The leaves may still be green, but at the Iowa State Fairgrounds,
ready on this one, whatever.
Signs of a new season are here.
That's our help.
At least for the crew.
2 corn dogs. Just that for you? Yep.
At Campbell's Concessions. After months of preparation,
We got the Iowa State Fair coming up here in August.
it's finally time to welcome customers back
And we always talk about the fair being tradition.
at the Coney Corner.
We wanted to give people the option to be able to come out before the craziness happens during the 11 days.
Operations Manager Grant Campbell
I've been out here my whole life.
knows his family name is part of the tradition.
We're trying to keep that fair tradition alive, out here.
But keeping the tradition alive isn't getting any cheaper.
Well, ever since that 2020 year, everything's kind of been jumping around, on pricing and stuff like that.
And they've had to eat a little more of the cost themselves.
Labor and manufacturing has been kind of our biggest rises in cost in the last couple of years.
Particularly for the classic products fairgoers come for.
Protein items have been a big incline the last couple of years, especially on the beef side as well too.
But as another fair season gets underway,
can I get a tenderloin? Go.
The goal remains the same.
Yeah, we got a couple new items this year, and it's going to be crazy.
To make sure everyone has fun.
Hot dog. Right here. Chili and cheese with it.
And a full belly.
I talked to a wide variety of people today, right? Some folks said they were just here to get their fix and avoid the fair. Others say that they were here to get their first fix, but they won't hesitate to come back once the fair begins next Thursday. Stephanie?
Well, this week is National Farmers Market Week, and we have a bunch of farmers markets here in Iowa. Local 5's Deja Garner is out at the Valley Junction Farmers Market right now. Deja, what's going on over there?
That's right, Stephanie. August 2nd through the 8th is National Farmers Market Week. Now let me show you what we have back here. We have some sweet corn, some watermelon, and a full tent of fresh produce. And so this week is all about celebrating local farmers and ranchers who grow some of the highest quality foods in the world. Experts say shoppers are buying products from local farmers during the Cyclosporiasis outbreak, which is helping small businesses.
Nationally, there's been an increase in visitorship to farmers markets to buy produce because of this outbreak. So in Iowa, it's kind of hot right now, not so much of the leafy greens being available at the produce stands. However, we have seen an increase in those sales. And so if you're worried like I am about the outbreak with those leafy greens at the grocery stores, you can always come out here and get awesome veggies that is good, locally grown at the produce stalls here.
Now, organizers are saying that they are expecting a big turnout. This is ahead of the State Iowa Fair next week and back to school season. So if you're out and about, come on and just stop by. And Valley Junction, Deja Garner, Local 5 News.
More than 700 Iowans could lose their housing due to a change by the Trump administration and the federal government. A new study by the National Alliance to End Homelessness found that over $5 million is being cut by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to Iowa programs dedicated to ending homelessness. It's a shift in focus away from permanent housing, meaning programs that have existed in communities for decades are suddenly no longer being funded.
This is really a quite abrupt shift towards funding transitional housing instead of permanent housing. And so communities are really being having to make a lot of significant changes in a relatively short amount of time.
The federal government says putting housing first has failed both the taxpayers and the homeless. HUD's focus is now on supportive services like addiction treatment and job and career training. Tonight, Federal Aviation Administration issues briefly paused flights in and out of Minneapolis today, causing delays across the region. Our sister station in the Twin Cities says the FAA cited a, quote, regional FAA equipment outage and telecommunication issues for the stoppage. With those issues, flights throughout the region were affected earlier today. Local 5's Brandon Wynn is live at the Des Moines International, where some passengers are still facing delays.
Yeah, Stephanie, those FAA telecommunication issues did delay almost all flights in and out of Des Moines. But even with those issues resolved, the effects are still being felt. A telecommunications issue with air traffic control led to about an hour of some flights being delayed in Des Moines.
Just out here trying to find out what I can find out to get her home safely tonight.
Richard Cook was waiting for his wife when he heard her arrival in Des Moines was affected by the mass delays.
We've got a great air traffic control system in this country and a great flight system. It works amazing most of the time, but when the delays happen, they can be a little frustrating.
Cook isn't alone in that frustration.
We live in Pasadena, but our flight was supposed to take off at 6:48, and now they say 9, and there's no guarantee it'll be at 9. We're lucky to get to bed at 3 a.m.
Bob Markowitz says he's enjoyed his stay in Iowa, but was hoping to be home a little sooner than ended up happening. The Seahusen family also didn't anticipate delays on their way to LAX, but they did have a plan to make their added hours in Des Moines go by a bit quicker.
Download lots of movies on Netflix. I'm watching Spider-Man right now.
Unfortunately, it's not all fun and games for everyone experiencing delays. Chris Jones had to seriously alter his travel plans.
The delay that's currently going on that pushed all the flights back, so currently they don't have any flights left available today, so I'm going to be driving back to Pensacola.
Arrivals are also significantly delayed, so if you are expecting someone to come into Des Moines, make sure to check the airport's website for up-to-date arrival times. Now, the FAA says the outage only lasted about an hour, but even though that is the case, the delays will still be going through the end of the day. But the FAA is still investigating the cause. Stephanie?
And we are heading into the last couple of days of the National Balloon Classic in Indianola.
Competition flying, it was scheduled for 6:30 this morning. I have a feeling that probably got canceled because of the fog, and I bet Emma's going to give us a quick update here. But there's still multiple events and flights later this evening throughout the weekend. So let's get out to Local 5's Emma Stroner, who is live there. Emma, you spoke with one pilot who says flying hot air balloons is a lifelong passion. And give us the latest update as well on the flights this morning.
Yes. Yeah, so they are still at that meeting. There is no flying going on right now. I would be very surprised to see any. I don't think they're going to, just because we can barely see even the trees that are just a few feet away. But I spoke with this pilot, and he's been a pilot for 12 years now. He got his license in 2014, but really his passion for flying dates far back from that. For Tyler Thompson,
I got my license in 2014.
The National Balloon Classic is more than just 9 days of hot air balloons.
Been crewing since birth.
It's tradition.
My oldest uncle was the first pilot in the family at 16, followed by my grandfather and then my youngest uncle.
Thompson's love for flying balloons fell right into his lap and came in perfect time for the first Balloon Classic 7 years ago.
In 2018, we started building our balloon. Basically, it was just weekends for 6 months, cutting fabric, sewing. My wife sewed for, I think, 125 hours. We got it certified through the FAA. Literally 2 weeks before the Balloon Classic started.
That hard work paid off. They got 5th place that year. This year, well, it's a different story.
Results haven't been the greatest, but I feel like I've flown pretty well. I'm currently, I'm in the 64th ranked, so if I can get within the top 40, top 50, that'd be perfect for me.
Despite ranking lower and dealing with multiple days of not so ideal weather conditions, Thompson still does what he loves most because his family shared that love with him, and now
2 of my 3 have flown.
He can share that love with his kids.
I have a rule of 4 years old. I need to be 4 years old. So Will, my oldest, took his first ride at 4. Jordan took her first ride at 4. So Olivia just turned 4, so it's her turn to get her first ride.
With 2 days left in the Classic, it's unsure if Thompson will place in the 40s or 50s, but one thing that is sure is that on Thursday evening, he got to take Olivia up for her first ride. Very excited for Olivia, happy she was able to get that first ride. And also Thompson has some advice for newer or younger pilots after his years of experience. He says really you just need to put yourself out there, get connected with the pilot community here in Iowa, start crewing, start working towards your pilot's license. He says the process is actually pretty simple and 100% worth it. But we are wishing him good luck for the rest of this weekend. Live in Indianola, Emma Stroner, Local 5 News.